Hello and welcome all to the Weekly Shenanigans podcast. I'm your host, Davion Gillespie, and I am gathered here today with my father.
How you doing?
My little brother.
Hi.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Honey. Honey is an app that you could use to find cheaper sales on any item and to find coupons. So you can find a variety of coupons on items as jewelry, clothing, and even grocery store items. So yeah, thank you. Gentlemen,
Yes.
let's begin. God of War is the topic, and it's a personal favorite of mine, as I said before. And one thing that I absolutely love that stuck with the game is the Blades of Chaos. We know how it was given to Kratos and exactly why, which we could probably say he regretted. In my opinion, he probably could. And my reasoning behind that is because he pledged his allegiance to Ares for a taste of victory. And so we see that in the game where he's bleeding out or wounded and is about to get his head bashed in by a barbarian. And we hear him screaming at the top of his lungs, Ares, destroy all my enemies, and my life and service is yours. End quote. Not verbatim, but basically the gist of it. And so we can see that with the Blades of Chaos, that is the official stamp that Kratos is now a slave to the gods of Olympus, which I also just found out not only to Ares, but to the gods of Olympus. So with that being said, we see that the Blades of Chaos are carried from the first game all the way up until basically number 4. You could just speak.
And number 5. That's coming out soon.
Oh,
along
yeah.
with
Technically,
the PS5.
there is no God of War 5. This is
Still 2020.
a whole, this is, even though they reference Kratos' previous life, if it was God of War 5, it would just be called God of War 5. But there is no God of War 5. It's just...
It's God of
DLC?
Alright, it's the new God of War.
New God of War.
Part 2.
Franchise is...
Part 2.
Back on his feet. There's no backstory as to... There's no transition from the last time Kratos was... What was that, God of War?
3.
Yeah, there's no backstory between that and Kratos' time in
Greece.
Midgard.
Okay.
Really?
There's nothing explaining that.
I thought it was
There
in
are
the comics.
There are comics that even in the comics don't explain it. They explain
How he was found.
Basically,
Yeah.
which was by his wife, Faye, and the World Serpent.
I don't even think it explains that.
Well, doing the research, what I had found out was that Kratos was washed up on a shore. It doesn't say where in the game.
Or how.
Yes, it's just washed up on the shore with this basically, I think, a good 2.5 foot hole in his chest. And so then basically using the magic of Midgard, he was able to be healed. And so then from there, that's when he made himself useful. And so then that's where basically it takes off. He was found by the World Serpent and Faye. So what had happened was that
In your research?
Kratos isn't familiar. We can even see this in the game. He isn't familiar with the World Serpent at all.
I know, but where does that come from?
It was on, I think it was on IGN. They explained it.
Oh, that makes.
There's like, can I see this on the web though? Like, because I love this game, and there's a lot that I pay attention to regarding it. Not to say that doesn't make me an expert at all, but out of all the crazy theories I've heard regarding how Kratos is shown up to Midgard, I haven't heard that one. So, is this just another theory you heard?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a theory.
Like, yeah.
And theories are still cool because it always leaves the possibility of what if, or maybe that could be a possibility. But yeah, so what you're talking about sounds like a theory.
Yeah, that's possible.
I actually thought it had something to do with that eagle that's in Helheim.
Oh, the one that appeared where Kratos died in the last game?
Yeah. I thought maybe I don't again I know it's a theory.
Yeah.
But out of all the theories I've heard,
that one's the most believable.
Yeah, this one was the most believable.
I thought like since I seen that bird, I was just like, what if it like carried him?
So are we talking about the eagle in
Helheim? Yeah.
Yes.
The eagle crest.
Yeah, and this most
in Greece. Yeah.
Okay.
The huge
wow.
eagle.
So it's, you guys all remember God of War 2, right? Not the eagle.
Oh yeah.
It's so not the eagle at the top of Greece where the Sisters of Fate are. Not that one, but
no, we're talking.
You're talking
God
about
of
the
War,
Phoenix,
this most recent God
the
of War.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
This is a whole nother bird though.
We're not even talking about any other God of War before this most recent God of War.
Okay.
Helheim. There's no Helheim in any other God of War but this most recent.
Alrighty.
That eagle. That big, huge, dumb eagle in the background.
I do remember that. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
And there's actually theories to
that eagle actually was supposed to be a boss at the beginning of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
It might be a boss in the next two.
And I guess what happens is Kratos wakes up from the last game, and he's not thinking straight. He's still in shock from the last fight with Zeus, and he wakes up to this huge bird, huge eagle, and they immediately start fighting. So that first boss battle was supposed to show us. It was supposed to be our tutorial.
Mm-hmm. It could be in the next game where like they show a flashback.
They could, but that was supposed to be our tutorial, but it didn't. It was taken out because it didn't transition well into. Now you see Kratos and his son getting ready to bury the mother or burn the body.
Alrighty. Because we all know he got weaker. And the only reason why he did is because we know Kratos for the savage he is, beating basically a dead body to nothing but atoms. And we can clearly see in the game that he's weak because he lost the power of hope. And we see this when he's fighting on your way to the top, to the Black Breath, when you're fighting that ogre, and maybe even fighting Baldur. We witnessed that. Like, without a doubt, Kratos would have won that fight without even... In that first punch he gave Baldur.
Although Baldur, he was immortal, though.
True. Well, not immortal.
But I do think that even though if Kratos got weaker, Atreus makes up for that.
But he would have, because Atreus is 1/4 giant, 1/4 a demigod, and... Actually, I'm sorry, not 1/4, 1/3. 1/4 giant, 1/3... 1/4,
he's mixed.
Again.
Let's just say he's mixed.
He's mixed. He's a giant demigod and a mortal.
But so is Loki, though, right? Like, they mentioned how his name was supposed to be Loki.
Yes. Well,
Hold
that's
on,
what...
Before you guys go off on the whole Loki thing. I don't really agree with. I agree to some extent as far as the whole Kratos is weaker thing.
I think he got stronger personally.
I don't think he ever lost his strength, and yeah, I think he does typically get and generally gotten stronger in this entire experience. But I think it was just a case of he was a warrior that was not in any physical war. So it was, I guess,
It was his mental state.
he wasn't like
he wasn't physically ready to fight.
he hasn't been in a fight in forever. I mean, in the comics they probably spoke about how he the comics relating to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Spoke about how he fought some wolves and bears every now and again, but that was him trying to control his anger. So in the process of that, I think it numbed his more violent side in the process of him trying to control that rage.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think because of Kratos not being in constant battles all the time, made him typically OP in every fight by comparison of power, like trying to describe how strong he is. So long story short, from beginning to the end of the game, Kratos was never weak. He gotten stronger, but his strength was always there. It was almost like he was trying to knock off Russ.
But yeah, I can agree.
His battle sense is dulled.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was rusty.
I'm coming to the end of my podcast. If you enjoyed, please drop a like. I will be dropping one next week. It's been a ride. So yeah, with COVID being a thing, stay safe, wash your hands, keep clean, and yeah, smile.